This is Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. The time is now 6 p.m. This is an emergency meeting by the Williston City Council. Mrs. Wright, will you please do a roll call?
Mayor Robinson.
Here.
President Goodman.
I'm here.
Vice President Head.
Here.
Councilmember Jones. Here. Councilmember Robinson. Here. Councilmember Ross.
Here.
Interim City Manager Stroh.
Here.
City Attorney Fred Coberlin.
Here.
City Planner Jackie Gorman. Here. Interim Police Chief Terry Bavard.
Here.
Utility Director C.J. Zamosky.
Here.
Human Resource Director Brooke Willis. Here. And City Clerk Latricia Wright. Here.
Thank you, Mrs. Wright. Okay. Item number 1 is discussion with possible action, employment of new city manager position. The mayor has called this, so I will turn this over to him.
Well, we have a tentative agreement with Mr. Hyatt, $85,000 plus the other benefits that the council approved on. And so it's been brought back to you for approval, and I think we have a contract with all that information in it. So it's now up to you to see how you want to proceed. So,
Anybody else have any comments before I start?
He's in agreement with that? That's good news. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Okay.
I'm satisfied with that. I mean, it's at the top of the range we had discussed, but it's the number that he said it would take to get him, and we knew that from day one, so I feel very comfortable with it, and I'm ready to move forward.
Yeah, we gave a range of 75 to 85, and negotiating between those numbers, that's fine with me.
Councilor Ross?
I have nothing to add.
Okay. I have a number of things to add. This council charged me and the mayor with working together to approach Mr. Hyatt. I did with the mayor. I sent in his office and contacted Mr. Hyatt, and I have this stuff proposing exactly what we had agreed on, which was 77.5. And Mr. Hyatt said, I'll have to think about it over the weekend. That's reasonable. After the weekend passed, Mr. Hyatt asked who he should call. I said, I'm the president of the council, you should call me. The mayor does not have the authority to hire city managers. That is the job of the city council. When Mr. Hyatt called me Monday, I was at the VA hospital. The interim city manager had called me and asked me to let him know when Mr. Hyatt called. I let the interim city manager know that Mr. Hyatt had called and that he had declined our offer. He did not make any other comments other than he declined our offer. He had other offers that he was going to pursue. I told the interim city manager that as soon as I got out of the hospital and got back to Williston, I would call the mayor and we could talk together. While I was driving from the hospital to Williston, the mayor negotiated this contract without ever consulting me, without ever bringing me into the contract in any way, shape, or form. And he called me up and said, we hired him. And I said, wait a minute, you don't have the authority to hire him. He said, it's a done deal. I did it. And I said, you don't have the authority. And he said, the council gave me the authority. The council gave both of us the authority, did not give him supreme authority to negotiate without me. And his answer to that was, well, you didn't negotiate very well. Well, I'm here to tell you that I resent this. And I think that this is totally improper. I think the manner, it's not Mr. Hyatt that I have issue with, it is the conduct of our mayor. And I take great disappointment that we have reached this point. All he had to do was call me. I was on the way. I had already told interim city manager that I was coming back to talk to the mayor. But the mayor decided that he could do it by himself, that he doesn't need the council president. I find this a breach in etiquette at the very least, morally reprehensible at my view, and I am very, very, very upset about it. If the mayor had just followed what I believe this council said, was the two of us would negotiate. And when he took it upon himself and cut me completely out of any discussion, I find that wrong. So, it has happened. I have no doubt Mr. Hyatt is a good candidate. But the process was wrong. So, I am calling the mayor to task for this, and I told him I would. I said, I don't agree with you. We need to talk. And I even said, you wanted me to talk? And he said, I don't need to talk to you anymore. He had made up his mind. I had no input. I had nothing to say about it. And I think that is totally inappropriate. And I am ashamed to be on a council where we allow a mayor to run roughshod, where I have had employees, long-standing employees, come to me and say, I am afraid to do anything because I'm afraid the mayor will come at me. I have heard employees that have went to council and said, I may have to quit. All I ask is decency. And I believe that we have a mayor that is incapable of producing that. I have something that I would like to read.
Would you like our comments first? Are you gonna?
This is continuing, and then yes, ma'am, I will withdraw from any further comments and accept your views and your choices. Recent and past tragic events have led our country and our community to a place of deep reflection and, unfortunately, polarization. While the City Council, in coordination with the Williston Police Department, has taken proactive steps to ensure peace, prosperity, and unity in our community, unrest has, unfortunately, and perhaps inevitably, found us. As one of 5 children raised by a single mother in a nearly entirely minority community, I have seen firsthand the cruelty, systematic racism visits upon the minority community. For some reasons, these lessons are learned in the classroom, but for me, they were learned by living. In my day-to-day life in my neighborhood, in the small diner my mother waitressed in, and in the profound tensions during the integration of public schools. I, like so many in the minority community, answered the call to arms during the Vietnam War. There, the color of our skin was unimportant. We were a band of brothers, black and white, simply trying to survive a war that the privileged easily avoided. In those years, I was 18 years old, and the war in Vietnam, I began a journey to reconcile what differences social class, color, and education would mean to my success and to the success of those around me. Let me state my position very clearly as has been done by other members of this body. Black Lives Matter. And there are systematic and tragic consequences to so many not understanding that. When I say Black Lives Matter, it does not mean that blue lives don't matter. It doesn't mean that white lives don't matter. It means that I recognize as a person who lived through desegregation that each of us and our country as a whole must come to terms with the fact that our past should not dictate our future. No citizen in our community should ever fear law enforcement. And no law enforcement officer should ever be presumed to be racist without evidence. We must promise every citizen that we will work tirelessly and transparently to eradicate racism in our community so that every citizen is able to pursue their dreams and goals in a safe, unified community that recognizes an individual based on their contributions to our community and does not discriminate against them because of the color of their skin. At this time, I'm president of Williston City Council. I will, for as long as I am here, continue to work to govern fairly and implement policies and procedures that protect all citizens regardless of their race, their gender, or any other factors beyond the content of their character. Due to the statement of a single member of our governing body, myself and others within the city of Williston have received threats on our lives, calls to resign, and we have been accused, I believe wrongly, of being complicit in the disparagement of our minority community. Each person in your city government is an individual. While we try to work together for the betterment of our community, we often do not share the same opinion on how to articulate and solve those problems within the community. I do not believe that a handful of individuals looting during a protest means that the entire protest itself is unlawful or immoral. I would ask you as members of our community who want to see it to grow and to prosper to see each person within our city government with the same open mind. We are individuals. The thoughts and actions of one does not constitute agreement by all. We live in a democracy that guarantees each of us maintains the right to a free speech. I fought for that right, and I embrace it fully. And when I am forced to deal with the consequences of words that I did not utter, and I do not agree with, Williston, I believe, is an outstanding community, full of diverse businesses and opinions. And I encourage an open and full discussion and a peaceful meeting of minds and hearts to heal the wounds festering in our community, and look forward to creating Williston that can provide those. And that is all I have to say. Yes, Mrs. Jones, feel free, you have the floor.
Don't quite know where to go after that.
I'm sorry.
Back to the subject at hand for the emergency meeting. I would just say at the meeting where we interviewed the last two candidates, and the one that you were not in attendance, we as a council gave the mayor permission to negotiate.
So the mayor by himself. I just want to be
You
clear
weren't
what
here,
you're
so
saying.
yes, sir, we did.
Okay.
We told him what we wanted. We talked about the fact that we would come back to the council meeting with the agreement and try to come up, which is we did at the next city council meeting, for the terms of the agreement. But at that meeting, we gave him total, because he was the one that was here, he had seen all 4 candidates. We had, had figured out how we were gonna vote. We had figured out how we were going to approach the contract, and we were gonna do that at the next meeting. I will say that when the mayor, he did get a report that Mr. Hyatt had turned it down. And I said, well, how did the negotiation go? I can tell you I was right in the middle of it. How did the negotiation go? He said that you had called him.
That's not true.
Well, y'all were together, but you talked to him. I don't think the mayor
Oh,
talked to
we
him.
had called Mr. Hyatt?
Yes.
You said him. I thought you meant I had called the mayor.
No,
Okay.
you called Mr. Hyatt, I'll be more specific. You called Mr. Hyatt, the mayor was with you, but you did all the talking. That you had offered the 77.5. And I said, well, Mr. Mayor, do you think that it was the dollar amount is the reason why he said no? I said, how do you feel about that? Do you think that the 85 made the difference? And he said he didn't know. And I said, well, I actually feel like we need to offer him 85 and see if he feels different about it. I did say that to him. I don't know what anybody else said to him, because I know he reported to all of us, because we all asked him to do that. And he's the one who is allowed to do that. I also know that he told me at that time that he had called you 2 or 3 times, and that he had emailed you a couple of times, and had been unable to get you.
That, I'm not gonna respond to it.
So, that's what I know about the situation. I just wanted
Okay.
to throw that in there.
That is fine.
And
Everybody's entitled to their own.
And I do think the negotiation needed to continue. I think letting him just say no, was not what we wanted to hear. I think it obviously wasn't what he wanted to hear either, because once we went to what he told us he had to have from us, he said yes. So,
I would like to add that after that second group of, interviews, we did meet, all of us, and we did make a motion that the mayor would negotiate.
right. We did. And we may have done otherwise if you had been here too, but you weren't. So we gave him permission to do it.
My question is at the last council meeting, you said you did not want Mr. Hyatt. I assumed that you were gonna negotiate, but you did not.
That's not correct. Since you're asking.
No.
What I said was, I didn't vote for Mr. Hyatt.
Right.
Not that I didn't want Mr. Hyatt.
Okay.
And that is
I stand
correct. I
corrected.
did say I did not. Which gets us to the other point. Our non-voting mayor's vote was counted for Mr. Hyatt. That's how he got 5 votes without me counting.
And I was here when you discovered that.
Yes.
We asked him to vote because we valued his opinion.
You
So
can,
we asked him to enter his vote, but we
Okay.
didn't.
And it still would have been 4-3.
it
Correct.
would not have changed the outcome.
It wouldn't have changed the outcome.
Correct.
And we did tell him at the previous meeting that we wanted, because he deals with the city manager through the police department and the fire department, that he was gonna have to deal with the city manager. We wanted his input.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'll add a couple comments to that, and kind of go in a couple of different directions. In the second set of interviews, the meeting we had following the last interview, we specifically talked about the fact that, the number of votes that someone got would not necessarily dictate who was gonna get offered what. Meaning mainly that whoever got the second highest number of votes was not automatically the second candidate to be offered the position. We simply wanted to see our top 2 and then discuss who we would like to make the offer to. So, I agree, without the mayor's vote, which we did ask for, would still have been, I think, 4 votes for Mr. Hyatt.
Right.
And, the discussion was that's who we wanted. I agree, there's a ton of concern within this process and what's happened. And in hindsight, maybe something that we should have outsourced or looked in a different manner to handle. I was concerned whenever, Mr. President, you said that you and the mayor would handle the negotiations, but I felt confident that the two of you could do that. My feelings personally are, there were some real issues, I see that completely, I understand that. We are within the salary range that we set. The gentleman that we decided was our choice has agreed to that number, apparently, at the $85,000, which he had, once again, said up front, that was what he would require to come here, so that's why we made it the top of our range. So, while I do understand completely, I see a lot of flaws in the process. At this point, for what we need to do in this meeting, I think we have the candidate we want at the salary that we had agreed to, and, I mean, I'm ready to move forward with that.
Okay. Mr. Ross?
I recall that we did a lot of discussion about changing the contract or agreement, whichever you want to call it, which I thought was well done. Mr. Jones brought that up, that we don't need to hire somebody when we can't tell him what we're hiring him for. So we went through a process of revising this agreement. And the only thing that I never could get straight was, how many times you supposed to vote here? You vote for 2, for 1, or what? And there was a lot of discussion about the one with the most votes would win, and one with that was next would be second. If number 1 did not take the job, number 2 would get it. And I remember specifically asking that question here in the council, and the response was, that's right. So I didn't think any more about it. Now, as far as the man being chosen, perhaps I would have gone about it in a different way, but that doesn't really matter now. That what the issue is, we've got a man here that we have voted for, or who has accepted a job which the city has offered to him. And so I see no reason why we should not go ahead with it, because if we don't, then what we come up with or what we vote on in the future is gonna be a little bit wishy-washy, and people are not gonna really understand it. So that's all I've got to say about it.
Anybody else? Anybody in the audience?
Mr. President, just one question. Did the mayor speak separately to different council members and then use their input, conferring back and forth between them as a go-between?
I have no knowledge of what the mayor did.
Just talk to the mayor. I did, only talk to the mayor. Yes, sir.
And with the mayor, Mr. Robinson and Mrs. Robinson, would that be a conflict of interest?
I cannot answer that, sir. Anybody else? Okay. We have a matter before us. If there are no further comments,
I think we need to go through the agreement as presented. Is that what you're planning to do?
yes, ma'am, as soon as I find it.
Yeah. I got you. How about 3 copies of it up here?
Okay, the one that we have finally agreed is the actual agreement, is one city manager agreement, sir.
That is the
The
revised
one that has Mr. Hyatt's name already on it,
on the back.
on the front, on the bottom line of
On
the
page
first
1.
paragraph,
Oh, okay.
It would be on the back too for signature.
I'm with you.
okay? This is a presumption contract that this is what you are going to do. By the way, Mr. London,
Uh-huh.
what was his name?
Mr. Bonner.
Bonner. Mr. Bonner said congratulations on hiring Mr. Hyatt
Saw that.
before we ever voted to hire him. I wonder how he came by that,
I got it today,
yeah, so did I a few minutes ago.
probably
We
that,
had not hired him yet.
probably that.
Probably that, or
Okay, it doesn't matter.
we're recorded, so.
The city manager agreement is made and entered into and effective the blank day, which will be today, if you decide it.
Well, whatever day he decides to come
I,
to work.
which, what I'm saying day, I'm just blanking it, we can fill in that amount.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's gonna happen from you.
Won't be today.
2020, blank day of 2020, and by and between the city of Williston, Florida, a Florida municipal corporation, the city, and Andrew E. Hyatt. Whereas the city council of the city, heretofore known as the council, and the manager believe that an employment agreement negotiated between the council and on behalf of the city and the manager is mutually beneficial to the city, the manager, and the community they serve. Whereas when appropriately structured, the council and the manager believe an employment agreement strengthens the council-manager relationship by enhancing the excellence and continuity of the management of the city for the benefit of all of its citizens. Whereas the council, on behalf of the city, desires to employ the services of the manager as the city manager of the city manager pursuant to terms and conditions and provisions of this agreement. Whereas the manager agrees to accept employment as the city manager, subject to the terms and conditions and provisions of this agreement. Now, therefore, the city and the manager, for and in consideration of the terms and conditions and provisions hereafter established, have agreed and do hereby agree as following. Item 1, term. The term, the city hereby employs the city manager for a 4-year term, expiration subject to renewal, commenced on blank blank. The city has the right to terminate the employment with the city manager at any time, subject to and in accordance with provisions of Section 6 of this agreement. Item 2, employment.
Hold on.
Yes,
Hold on.
yes, ma'am.
If it's gonna be expiration subject to renewal, it doesn't need to say 2020, it needs to say 2024, I believe.
Expiration subject to renewal commenced on, I can't answer that, Mr. Copeland.
1.1
It does say commenced on, so
Yeah,
maybe it's the day it started,
Yeah.
and not 4 days.
That's what I read, but
Okay, you're right.
I was, go ahead, sir.
Section 1.1 has been slightly revised since you received this. The city hereby employs city manager for a 4-year term, subject to renewal, commencing on the blank day of the blank month, a year. You'll need to answer when you want him to start.
Okay. Mr. Copeland, are there any other changes?
So we took out the whole last sentence, is what you're saying?
You took out the city has the right to terminate?
It's in another section.
The only sentence that was slightly modified was that first.
Gotcha, okay.
6.2 came out a little bit too wordy. Chairman, 6.2. Says council may end the employment relationship and terminate this agreement at the pleasure of the council, period. If the council determines that it desires a unilateral severance, it shall require a majority of the council present at a meeting for termination period.
Okay.
Unilateral severance by the council shall qualify the manager to receive a severance payment in accordance with terms of paragraph 6.3 below and subject to all legally required deductions and withholdings. The city shall provide written notice to the manager at least 30 days in advance of the effective date of such termination.
So we skipped from 1.1 to 6.2.
We can go back.
Okay.
He took it
Mr. Copeland.
out there and added it here.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes, sir.
Doing his part.
would you be willing to read this contract?
I have read it. You may read
Would
it
you out loud to these people?
I would be, sir.
Thank you.
Into the microphone.
Section 2, Title Employment. 2.1, Chief Executive Officer. The manager is the chief executive officer of the city and shall faithfully perform the duties of the city manager as prescribed in the job description as set forth in the city charter, if any, and city ordinances, and as may be lawfully assigned by the council. State, further, the manager shall comply with state and federal law, the city's charter, if any, all city policies, rules, regulations, and ordinances as they exist or may hereinafter be amended, and all lawful council directives. All duties assigned to the manager by the council shall be appropriate to and consistent with the professional role and responsibility of the city manager's position. Duties, section 2.2. The council does hereby employ manager as city manager to perform the city manager's duties in accordance with and pursuant to the city charter, all applicable laws and authorities, and to the full extent not prohibited by or in material conflict with any existing provisions of the city's charter or applicable laws and authorities. The manager shall perform the city manager's duties with reasonable care, diligence, skill, and expertise. Section 2.3, titled Criticisms, Complaints, and Suggestions. The council, individually and collectively, shall refer in a timely manner all substantive criticisms, complaints, and suggestions called to the council's attention to the manager for study and or appropriate action, and the manager shall refer the matters to the appropriate city employee or shall investigate such matters and inform the council of the results of such efforts. Section 2.4, titled Hours of Work. The manager acknowledges the proper performance of the city manager's duties require the manager to generally observe normal business hours and will also often require the performance of necessary services outside of normal business hours. The manager agrees to devote such additional time as is necessary for the full and proper performance of the city manager's duties, and that the compensation herein provided includes compensation for the performance of all such services. However, the city intends that reasonable time off be permitted the manager pursuant to paragraph 3.3, so long as the time off does not interfere with the normal conduct of the office of the city manager. The manager will devote full time and effort to the performance of the city manager's duties and shall remain an exclusive employee of the city during the term of this agreement. The manager, with the prior consent of the council, may accept outside professional employment which does not interfere with the manager performing the city manager's duties. The term, quote, outside professional employment, end quote, means professional services provided to third parties for which the manager is compensated and which are performed on the manager's time off. Section 2.5, titled Residence. The manager agrees to maintain his primary residence within a 30-minute response time to the city throughout the life of this agreement period. Section 3, titled Compensation. Section 3.1, titled Salary. The city shall provide the manager with an initial annual salary in the sum of $85,000.00. The manager's annual salary shall be paid to the manager in equal installments on the schedule of other city employees and shall be paid subject to any applicable withholding or deductions required by applicable laws and authorities. Section 3.2, titled Salary Adjustments. At any time during the term of this agreement, the council may, in its discretion, review and adjust the salary of the manager, but in no event shall the manager be paid less than the salary set forth in paragraph 3.1 of this agreement, except by mutual agreement of the two parties. Such adjustments, if any, shall be made pursuant to lawful council resolutions. In such event, the parties agree to provide their best efforts and reasonable cooperation to execute a new agreement incorporating the adjusted salary. Section 3.3, paid leave, vacation, sick, personal, and holiday. The manager may take, at the manager's choice, the same number of hours of vacation authorized and adopted for employees of the city. The leave to be in a single period or at different times. The vacation leave taken by the manager will be taken at such time or times as will least interfere with the performance of the city manager's duties. The manager is hereby granted 3 weeks vacation for the term of the agreement. The sick leave benefits, extra vacation, and safety is authorized by council policies for employees. The manager shall observe the same legal holidays as provided by the city for its administrative employees.
Okay, question, please.
We're about halfway done, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman.
question, please.
Question?
Where it talks about the manager's choice of the same number of hours of vacation, and then in the next sentence it says we're given in 3 weeks. Isn't that a contradiction?
Where there's a semicolon breaking it, but it's not the same. It says extra vacation.
So you're gonna let him accrue and give him 3 weeks?
I'm not going to.
I mean, I don't think that's not what we agreed, that's not what we discussed.
No.
It was sort of flat 3 weeks every year.
3 weeks plus holidays or whatever.
The previous one talked about accrual, but we said we were gonna give him a flat 3 weeks.
Okay?
He gets 3 weeks vacation and then his sick time accrues like
Only the
everybody
sick
else.
time accrues,
Yeah.
that's right. Exactly.
Excuse me, 3 weeks per year or,
Yes.
okay, thank you.
But the sick time will accrue just like everybody else's.
Is that the only question on 3.4?
Yes, sir.
3.4, benefits general. Unless expressly provided otherwise in this agreement, in addition to those benefits specifically set forth herein, the manager shall be entitled to the same benefits that are enjoyed by any other employees of the city pursuant to all applicable laws and authorities. This includes accrual and payment of benefits upon the events defined by the adopted employee benefits rules and regulations. Those benefits presently include health insurance for the employee at no cost, a life insurance policy in the amount of $15,000.00 at no cost to the employee. Section 3.5, insurance. This health insurance. The city agrees to pay the premiums for health, hospitalization, vision, dental, and comprehensive medical insurance for the manager pursuant to the group health care plan provided by the city for its employees. Section 3.6, retirement benefit. The city agrees to pay the amount that is equal to 8% of the manager's gross salary into a recognized retirement system instrument specifically for the manager and agreed upon by the city and manager in accordance with all applicable laws and authorities. Section 3.7, vehicle allowance. The city shall pay the manager a net amount of $300.00 per month for the manager's use of the manager's personal vehicle to conduct city business. This amount shall be subject to an increase as determined by the council and manager and provided by inclusion in the budget or is otherwise voted upon by the council. Section 3.8, bonds and indemnification. The city shall bear the full cost of any fidelity or other bonds required of the manager under any law or ordinance. The city shall, to the extent required by law, defend, save harmless, and indemnify the city manager against any tort, professional liability claim or demand, or other legal action, whether groundless or otherwise, arising out of alleged act or omission occurring in the performance of the manager's duties as city manager. The city will defend and pay the amount of settlement or judgment rendered in any tort, professional liability claim, demand, or other legal action arising out of alleged act or omission occurring in the performance of the manager's duties as city manager. In furtherance of the above, the city manager shall be covered by the city's public official liability policy as well as other liability policies. Section 3.9, civic activities. The manager is encouraged to participate in community and civic organizations and activities. The cost of such activities shall be borne by the city. Section 4, titled Professional Growth. Subsection 4.1, professional dues and subscriptions. The city agrees to reasonably budget for and pay for professional dues and subscriptions of the manager necessary for continuation and full participation in national, state, regional, and local associations and organizations as necessary and or desirable for the good of the city through the manager's continued professional participation, growth, and advancement. Subsection 4.2, professional development travel. The city agrees to reasonably budget for and to pay for travel and subsistence expenses of the manager for professional and official travel and meetings to adequately continue the professional development of the manager and to pursue necessary official functions for the city, including but not limited to the Florida Municipal League, the Florida City Management Association, to the ICMA annual conference, and such other national, regional, state, and local government groups and committees in which the manager is a member. The intent of this provision is to reasonably provide for professional development to the extent of available funding. The manager will include annually in the budget for adoption all anticipated professional development and related expenses to the best information possible. The council will allow the manager to utilize the budgeted travel funds as herein described and will inform the council of travel and use of funds prior to and subsequent to travel expenditures for city business. The manager shall comply with all procedures and documentation requirements in accordance with applicable laws and authorities. Subsection 4.3, professional continuing education. The city also agrees to reasonably budget to the extent of available funding for and to pay for travel and subsistence expenses of manager for short courses, institutes, and seminars that are necessary and or desirable for the good of the city through the manager's professional development. Section 5, titled Performance Evaluation. Subsection 5.1, Evaluation Process. Council shall review the manager's job performance initially, 30 days prior to blank. The council shall provide the manager a reasonable and adequate opportunity to discuss with the council and or respond to the manager's evaluation. Such adjustments, if any, shall be made pursuant to lawful council resolutions. Question 5.1, what you recollect. Our notes were a little bit gray there. I was under the impression that perhaps you may have wanted just an annual review.
Mine says the council shall review the manager's job performance initially, and we struck the next 30 days prior to.
Right.
And then annually, goes down 2 sentences down, and then annually upon the anniversary of the original commencement date.
Okay, so is this the will of the council that you wish to do an evaluation annually on the around the anniversary date, or 30 days prior to?
That's what we're,
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Section 6, titled Separation and or Termination. Subsection 6.1, Separation and Termination Events. This agreement shall separate or terminate the employment relationship upon any of the following. 1, resignation by manager in writing within 30 days, notice of the effective date and signed by him. 2, retirement of the manager. 3, non-renewal. Upon the occurrence of any of the 3 events within section 6.1 above, the city shall pay to the city manager any accrued benefits of vacation and sick leave as defined by and in accordance with standard employees rules and regulations. Subsection 6.2, unilateral severance. The council may end the, excuse me.
question.
Yes.
Where, and I think we passed this already, but help me. We took out of that section, the ability for us to terminate early. Where did we add that? What section did we put that in?
We're about to go to it.
Okay, we're not there yet.
There.
Okay. As long as we got it, we're good.
It's-
Oh, that's the unilateral.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'll read from the revised version. The council may end the employment relationship and terminate this agreement at the pleasure of the council. If the council determines that it desires a unilateral severance, it shall require a majority of the council present at a meeting for termination. A unilateral severance by the council shall qualify the manager to receive a severance payment in accordance with the terms of paragraph 6.3, the next paragraph, and subject to all legally required deductions and withholdings. The city shall provide written notice to the manager at least 30 days in advance of the effective date of such termination. Subsection 6.3.
I have a question. Do we really want to tell him 30 days in advance that he's fired?
You should give the individual a notice that they are going to be terminated when it's by vote. If, for example, we were in private business and you wanted to terminate an employee, it's free will unless you have a contract.
Right.
But it is proper for the citizens and the individual under contract to have an opportunity to rebut any allegations.
I realize that, but that's required by law. Is that required by law, or is that just
I
something
would
nice
have-
that we should be doing?
This is not necessarily a at-will employment, now that we have a contract.
Right.
I'd have to go back, and I have not looked at that issue in a few years.
I mean, if we had a true issue with him and we wanted to relieve him of his job,
You can relieve him of his job and continue
and
to
just
pay.
pay him for 30 days,
Mhm.
okay? I'm okay with that, I guess. As long as we realize we can do that.
Subsection 6.3, severance amount calculation. The severance amount means the total amount of, an amount in accordance with the schedule included herein, and the value of any accrued but unused vacation and sick and/or personal leave days computed as in accordance with the standard employees' rules and regulations. Conditioned upon the city fulfilling its obligation to pay the severance amount, the severance benefits and the current obligations upon a unilateral severance, the manager waives and releases the manager's rights to continued employment with the city, and the parties waive and release the right to arbitration hearing on the issue of good cause. In the event of a unilateral severance, the parties agree not to make disparaging comments or statements about each other. The severance amount calculation is based on hourly rate of the salary divided by 2,080 hours and applied as a workday defined as 8 hours. The amount of days or hours worked, for example, 30 days to 6 months, would be 20 work days, the amount of severance amount. 6 to 12 months of employment, add 20 work days for a total of 40 days. 12 to 24 months of work experience, add 20 days for a total of 60 days. 24 to 36 months of experience, add 20 work days for a total of 80 days. 36 or more months of work experience, add 20 work days for a total of 100 days maximum. Subsection 6.4, waiver or forfeiture of severance. Manager agrees to forfeit any severance in the event he enters any plea, including but not limited to pleas of guilty, pleas of nolo contendere, also known as no contest, or is convicted in a court having criminal jurisdiction, or he has been fired for misconduct as defined in section 443.036 by the Unit of Government. Number 7, titled General Provisions. Subsection 7.1, Complete Agreement. This agreement sets forth and establishes the understanding between the city and the manager relating to the employment of the manager by the city. Subsection 7.2, Binding Effect. This agreement shall be binding on the city and the manager, as well as their heirs, assigns, executors, personal representatives, and successors in interest. Any modifications to this agreement shall be accomplished in writing and affixed to the most recent agreement. Subsection 7.3, Severability Clause. If any term or provision of this agreement as applies to any part or to any circumstance is declared by a court of competent jurisdiction hereof to be illegal, unenforceable, or void in any situation and in any jurisdiction, such determination shall not affect the validity or enforceability of the remaining terms and provisions hereof, or the validity or enforceability of the offending provision in any other situation or in any other jurisdiction. The parties agree that the court or arbitrator making such determination shall have the power to reduce the scope, duration, area, or applicability of the term or provision, to delete specific words or phrases, or to replace any illegal, unenforceable, or void term or provision with a term or provision that is valid and enforceable and that comes closest to expressing the intention of the invalid or unenforceable term or provision. Subsection 7.4, conflict. In the event of any conflict between the terms, conditions, and provisions of this agreement and the applicable laws and authorities, then, unless otherwise prohibited by law, the terms of this agreement shall take precedence over the contrary provisions of the applicable laws and authorities during the term of this agreement. Finally, subsection 7.5, controlling law. This agreement shall be governed by and construed and enforced in accordance with the laws of the state of Florida and shall be performed in Levy County, Florida, unless otherwise provided by law.
Well, that was certainly a mouthful, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As, going back to 1.1, the date of commencement, Mr. Stroh probably stay on a few months to transition.
I think we wouldn't sign it up for tomorrow.
Any member of the council have any comments or questions?
So we had 2 areas that needed to be tweaked. I think it was only 2, wasn't it? Was it 3?
Well, I have several little, every time I read it, I will
You find something
a
else?
grammatical issue. But I have here that your attention, because we read through it, I was not gonna go back and
Right.
remind you that
Yeah.
subsection 3.6 is the 8% at the lower of 8 to 10%.
Right? Right. Yep.
I believe I probably have the areas that you have mentioned, and several others circled to attend to.
Okay.
But we do need a date to propose to him that of course he can counter for when the employment would begin, which would go into subsection 1.1.
Yes, the 10th, 15th.
Anybody in the audience have any questions or comments?
If you wanted a meeting, I'd recommend it.
Does anyone online have any questions or comments?
Unmute your mic and speak up now.
budget, beginning of the budget year.
Miss Latricia has her hand up.
Pardon me?
Miss Latricia has her hand up.
Hi, Ms. Latricia.
Thursday.
Aaron, you be gathered, no comments online. Ms. Latricia?
Okay, Councilmember Jones asked about the ones that need to be corrected, the different sections. I have section 3.3, taking out the, same number of hours of vacation.
Uh-huh.
I have that to be removed. I have section 3.6, which spreads it at just 10%, 8 to 10%.
No, we're gonna leave it at 8.
No, we're gonna leave it at 8.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let me scratch that. Then I have section 5.1, remove the 30 days.
Right. Right.
And then I have section 6.2, remove quorum and discretion.
I didn't hear you, what'd you say?
Remove what?
Quorum, council quorum. The third sentence,
Only because the attorney wrote it a little bit different.
correct.
Yeah. And we agreed with what he read.
Okay, and that's all I have.
Good, thank you. So what date is October 1st, Molly?
It's on a Thursday.
I vote for Monday, the 21st.
Monday the 21st? So what is the Monday after that? The
28th.
No, October 5th. How about October 5th?
First council meeting
No, council meeting on the 6th.
on the 6th. Okay.
As soon as he can start, I'd say.
I mean, if he wants to start on a Thursday, we can do October 1st, that's when the budget starts.
I don't mean,
I would say the 1st or the 5th.
I agree.
You get 2 days under its belt if he starts on the 1st. But I'm okay with the 5th if he can't come till then.
What if he can't come to the 6th?
I'm okay with that too.
Okay, clear that up.
I'm okay with it, sooner the better, though.
Yeah,
I agree.
absolutely.
Okay, so what is the date?
The 1st, 5th, or 6th?
Sounds better.
The 28th.
We prefer the 1st.
October 1st.
Correct, yeah.
October 1st or as soon as possible after that.
Okay, I think we need to take a vote. Mr. Copeland?
October 1st or soon thereafter, but not later than
October
Yeah, we need to
31st.
October, what'd you say?
October 31st.
well, he needs to be provided a range.
Right.
He wants to know that
That's
he can't
true,
make
but-
it on the 1st,
Or the 30th, which is a Friday.
1st or the 2nd.
That's fine.
Give him 24 hours.
October 30th is a Friday, so. Maybe no later than the 26th, which is the full Monday before. I mean, you wouldn't want him to start on Friday.
I started on a Friday. Aaron?
Can't you contact the man and ask him when he would like to start?
Yes, but to have a contract, you've got to have parameters, so we have to state it. He cannot accept it.
You can always cross it out, change
And
it.
come back and say, I can't make it until this time. Yes,
Or if he could start earlier than the first.
You would be real happy.
Make our interim
Yeah.
I believe Counselor Vice President Head said as soon as possible, Mr. Coberlin. We don't want to make him wait if he's ready to come. Is there any other comments before we vote? CJ?
I had a question on the section 2.5 of the residence.
Microphone. Did I miss the section?
Section 2.5,
About residents?
yes. Doesn't give any period of time where he has to reside. It says upon the agreement, is there a time?
How soon does he have to have a residence?
That is correct.
He's got to be within 30 minutes of his job. That is in the contract.
I think you're talking about how soon after the contract?
When he starts
If
work.
you start next
Yes,
week,
from the
you won't
time
have
he
a
starts
place to live.
work.
Yeah.
Is there-
I don't think anyone expects him to commute from Jacksonville. So when he starts work, he's got to be able to get to work. I don't care if he sleeps in his car, but he's got to be able to get to work within 30 minutes. That's part of the contract, as I recall.
He said that he would find a place as quickly as possible.
Yeah, when we asked that question that day, that's what he said. It could be a hotel in Gainesville, but
We have tiny houses,
we have tiny houses, yes, we do.
very nice.
Any other comments? All those in favor of hiring Mr. Hyatt under the stipulations and with the contract that has been negotiated, signify by saying aye.
Are you making the motion?
No, yes, I am.
You
I'm
put that
making
in the
the
form of
motion.
your motion, well, I'll
Yes.
second your motion.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll
I
say-
made the motion. Counselor Jones seconded. All those in favor were everybody except me. I vote against this motion. So it was passed by a 4-1 vote.
Can I ask your reasoning?
You'll know momentarily.
Okay.
That it? Okay, I have one last announcement. Your next council meeting is the 22nd. I hereby tender my resignation as the council president. will try to attempt to continue to serve on the council, but I will not serve as a president as long as this man is mayor. This meeting is adjourned.
It's not adjourned if he has something to say.
He can say whatever he wants. I'm leaving.
Okay.
I adjourn the meeting.
Okay. Congratulations, Justin Head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I'll remain, you got something to say?
I would like to listen to what you have to say.
And we can,
No, I was just gonna ask, when is this contract gonna be presented to Mr. Hyde?
I guess that's you. Y'all please note that this, we are giving him permission to do this.
Mrs. Jones.
Once again.
If, I'm asking Mr. Copeland a question, that is, if this meeting has been adjourned, then is this not a time to quit discussion among the members of your city council?
He can talk.
We asked the mayor to talk.
You just had interaction in the lead, and you said.
I had interaction with the mayor, Jim.
That's right, and you've got other people here.
I did not talk to her. She was talking to the mayor. I was talking to the mayor.
I would just say, Mr. Mayor, carry on.
Well,
All right, how can we unadjourn the meeting? Just because the man walked out? Is there a way to do that?
Give me a moment.
wait just a minute.
He's looking it up.
He declared the meeting adjourned, so I don't think we can do anything.
We can if we talk to the attorney and ask him how, I mean, one man said that and walked out, and there was no motion for adjournment.
It would be just.
What? Mr. Head,
He would be president, he would.
you are not.
I know that, but we have to unadjourn it before we can do that.
That was
We have to go back to the
childish
meeting.
things I've ever seen in a city council meeting. I've never seen anything that childish.
But he resigned as president, and then he adjourned it, so if he resigned as president, did he have the authority to adjourn
For
it?
the next meeting.
Council, your rules are codified in resolution 2012-07, subsequently modified, and they refer the reader to two additional sources, the municipal officials manual as well as Robert's Rules of Order. So it'll probably take me 10 to 20 minutes to read those at the earliest, because Robert's Rules of Order are, if it's not covered in the municipal officials manual, Robert's Rules of Order are a few hundred pages, and there are sub-rules for small board meetings, which are defined as 12 or fewer members.
We're waiting for his determination.
Ross, you are free to leave if you feel the meeting's been adjourned properly. You're free to stay and wait to see if the official rules manual, municipal officials manual states differently, or Robert's Rules of the small board states differently. This is a first impression.
Since it's gonna take Fred about 10 to 15 minutes, if anyone needs to take a break, use the restroom, whatever.
And be advised, we are still on GoToMeeting Live
Yeah,
and
we're still on.
YouTube.
We're being recorded. I would like to clear that record up as well.
I didn't say you could make a ballot. We gave him permission to vote. in the valley. That was already determined before she ever ran.
I go by there every now and then, so
Yeah.
I've been staying pretty close to the house. I can't wait, I always get around.
It is the 24th.
Can't get around.
So that means I get the agenda out. I'm like, because my assistant told me I had 2 weeks, but I don't, so they keep it
Nothing is volunteer time.
Yeah,
I've done that 15 years. And I said, I don't think the sheriff wants me out there with Walker trying to direct traffic.
Maybe you just like.
Got a contract. Yeah. Got a contract. Hopefully it'll go through, but you just don't never know. Till you get the money in your hand, the deal ain't closed. Yeah. Yeah. They sure are. People call. I bet you these 10 calls a week. What do y'all?
We need to get back to that place, because we have to go where I never know what's gonna fly in my way. It should be. I think everybody goes into that, even though there was conflict, we weren't pitched by them, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, okay, then even since we're working through all these issues, we've gone through the premium, here we are, let's do it. And then I have crap. Let's put 5 minutes of it. They go around, it's like, oh. Anyway, we just need to, this is the chief. He was a, exactly. He was a, before this chief bro, this is him. Exactly. Right. Have you been recruited to the women's club yet? Oh, been there, done that. I went to one meeting with her. Oh, yeah? It was fun. It was wonderful. I was really impressed. I'm not just saying, I was impressed. It was a good group. But it was different because we didn't have a requirement. Yeah, she did a skit when I was there. It was so good. It was good. If you did your skit, Oh, the three ladies? Yeah, the domestic violence.
It was great, it was real great.
Yeah. It wasn't supposed to be funny, but it was funny. Domestic violence.
It was, it kept you entertained, without
It was you,
Well, my problem, I drive 38 miles one way, and I was just telling him, if I could secure a pad over at Wilson Crossing to put a little RV in there for the week. I had sometimes 2 meetings a week, I was tired, and I'm not even, I mean, well, at 11, and sometimes I drive, I see some little white here and there, and I'm like, oh boy. Clobbered, so, I'm thinking, my sister's got this RV, she's I'm like, why do I just park it over there?
But then all it says is
Marty can stay here, we can enjoy both worlds, you know, I'm not ready to retire for a while,
But then when
no.
you, that's charged.
It'd be kind of fun to do. So that way I can participate in that. Yeah, but I don't, it's a fun one. But they're really expensive, so I got to struggle with it. It's like, yes, something like this back, nobody wants to be there.
Which is $300 a name with the first person.
I mean, my only other choice is to buy a lot somewhere. I don't want to be by myself. I was thinking about getting a Wilson Crossing, so I don't have to drive all that way. But they're expensive.
Be careful which one you buy. Remember, after 2 years.
Oh, not by, my sister's got one that's, it's not as pretty, but I can make it cute, you know?
They, however,
It's, I don't know. Oh, they do? Uh-oh. They never come.
Oh, yeah, I'm already
Wasn't all that big.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because you might be a little over that. It's not like that. He was raised by that. He got like 3 cars on the track.
Well, the reason why I know that, because ours is an 08, and we had to walk that. No, it looked, that looks great, and, no issue with that.
I think that our generation
It's nice, I mean, you make it.
I don't know, I may put me to work. I don't know. People don't know it's stopping. When they get towards one, they just want to kind of roll out from me. I just lock on wood, it's got a perfect. Be a long day. Until nights like this, when late, we're hotel, I'm tired. No, I could probably get off, but I'm sure, so far, I might as well hear the end of it. But, I thought maybe that was the only thing, things to do, I'd like to do. I thought it was
About a couple times, the situation changes a little bit when they turn around. Wednesday, $400 plus 90 days.
I thought I'd put my hand out and hold on to it, a little bit of So do you know our system's trying to get their act together, we have to go to the April, Yes, I see
You won't find any.
You're always gonna have one, and then you chance for Marty to bring the dog up and have something to do. Like hang out the house all day, but it was a thought. I'm not ready to retire. Love what I do. Love what I do here. Don't make that up. I'm sure that they want to drag me out of here. It's because I'm regulatory and I've never popped it, so. But you know what, this has been the kindest city that I worked for. Man, I've been in some really fun, but this is Fire World, and I've known a lot of these people most of my life. I just love it. And I came from a very strong regulated city, and so everybody just can help
It sounded like a threat out here.
All right, we're gonna reconvene. Mr. Coberline, will you give us your findings, please?
Vice Chair, the Board of Municipal Officials Manual, the publication of the Board of League of Cities, and it requires a majority vote to pass any motion. A motion to adjourn is a privileged motion, and therefore, unless it's set at the outset, the time to adjourn is set at the outset of a meeting, then a motion to adjourn is proper at any time during the meeting. We have not had a motion, nor a proper second, and we have not had a majority vote, so you should reconvene.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so, we had one item on the agenda for this meeting. Let me remind everybody, to take action on, and we already have. So, does anybody have any further comments on the council?
Just back to the floor subject, who's going to present this to Mr. Hyatt once it's revised? We're going to authorize the mayor to do that? Or would you like to do that? Or do we want the HR person to do that, whoever the HR person is? Well, and Mr. Mayor has, I think he has a rapport with him.
And he's waiting on my call.
He's waiting on your call.
Well, my opinion is at this point, rather than to muddy the waters and look completely incompetent with the man we're trying to hire to come to work here.
Absolutely.
I would suggest we go ahead and let the mayor wrap this up and see if we can get him started. Mr. Ross?
I agree.
Mr. Robinson?
I agree. Do as well. And that's really the only thing I wanted to say.
Okay, one question. When can I get the revised contract?
Mayor, it should be ready within a couple of hours of 8 a.m. tomorrow. I'll forward to you. You can make your call whenever you like and let Mr. Hyatt know that you'll have a written proposal to him by noon tomorrow. The resolution is ready for
If he's
council's
available.
consideration at the following meeting.
Yeah, if he's available.
You're gonna have to tell him the changes, I guess, when you tell him, aren't you?
Oh, I'm gonna take the contract to him, and we're gonna go over the contract.
But I mean, the changes that we made here this evening.
He really hasn't seen it before.
Right.
They didn't
He
take it
hasn't
to
seen the
him.
contract, or agreement, excuse me,
Okay.
agreement.
Yeah.
I thought he'd seen it.
No, that's what I'll do. I'll take the agreement to him and go over it,
Okay.
just paragraph by paragraph, and if he agrees to it, then we'll get him to sign it and get him a start date. And I will inform everybody as soon as that is being done, if that's acceptable to council.
Yeah,
and get interim a box, the FDI's.
I've already got it.
Oh, of course you do.
They probably did that on the break.
Probably ran over there.
One other thing, Mr. Vice President, I want to clarify something that Mr. Goodman brought up in the beginning about how did Mr. Bonner find out about Mr. Hyatt? And actually, he got it from me, because he called me yesterday to ask me what the status was of city manager selection. And I told him that at this time that, Mr. Goodman and the mayor were negotiating with Mr. Hyatt. And he said, thank you very much, I wish him very well, and he'll serve the city well. And very, very cordial conversation, so it wasn't like a real whodunit, he got it from me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any further comments, Mayor?
Move we adjourn?
One question.
Oops, sorry, I take that back.
Yes, sir.
Public.
If you will, state your name, Mr. Pinkston, and
Carl Nixon, discuss again, Wilson. Will the contract be signed by Mr. Head or Mr. Goodman?
Now it's Mr. Head.
I guess at our next meeting, we'll have to elect a president.
Yeah, you-
Guess who it will be?
Elect him as president.
Yeah, Mr. Coberlin, who do we put down there?
So, Mr. Vice President will be presiding officer until you all elect someone and consider it. I'm sure Ms. Wright will have that at the top of the agenda next meeting.
There you go.
Okay, and then we will, put his name where Mr. Goodman is on the contract?
Correct.
I probably not, we'll probably revise it, because unless he's the president at the, beginning of the next meeting, it won't be considered until later on in the meeting.
Okay, how are we going to revise it though, if Mr. Hyatt signs the contract or agreement that I'll present to him?
He can sign it, we can leave it blank, we can change the names to whatever, it's not final until the council sees his signature on it.
Can we just put council president and leave it at that, and then he can sign it when it comes back?
Right.
Yes, we're getting way into the weeds about something that our technology can take care of in the
Yeah.
latter section.
So we leave it blank for the time being?
You could say council president.
Council president. They're the ones that's gonna do the.
And after he signs it and it comes back, whoever we elect president can sign it.
I just don't have him to sign half a dozen different agreements, you know.
No, you just hit his signature, but good from there.
excuse me, gentlemen, one at a time, please.
Oh, sorry.
Anything further, Mayor?
Nope.
Council?
No, sir.
All right. I think we had a motion to adjourn.
If we adjourn. For real,
Second.
for real.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
That was him.